Please, just talk to me.
Talk to you. It's over. I'm done.
She said it so casually, as if she was just putting off a trip to the grocery store. We'll talk when I get back from my trip. Not if we talk, not even what we'll talk about, just later. After she was finished doing whatever she had already decided was more important than me, I just stood there and watched her zip up her suitcase while she rattled on about flight times and the view from her hotel room. And you know what was strange? She didn't look guilty, not even a little bit nervous. She looked relieved, as if putting physical distance between us was the solution to everything, so I nodded. I even helped her carry the bag to the door. "Have a safe trip," I said, my voice probably sounding flatter than I intended. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, but it had no warmth, no feeling behind it. And then she walked out. And in that precise moment, watching her car pull away, I knew with absolute certainty that there would be nothing left for us to discuss when she came back. The warning signs hadn't just appeared overnight. They never do they? It's a slow burn. It started with late nights at work, always explained away with vague, flimsy excuses. Her phone, which used to be left on the counter, was suddenly always on silent, face down, and glued to her side. Then came this sudden, intense obsession with privacy that had never existed between us before. I'd ask questions, of course. I tried to be calm, reasonable. I didn't want to be that person, the one who's always suspicious. But every time I brought it up, she would just smile this placating smile and tell me I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid. But this time was different. This time she didn't even bother to deny anything. She just delayed the conversation. And delay is a form of control. She was banking on me waiting. She assumed I'd just sit around, counting the days until she returned, ready to pick up whatever pieces she decided to leave for me. But I didn't. That first night she was gone, I sat alone in our house, the silence so loud it was almost deafening, and I made a list. Not a list of accusations or things she'd done wrong. No, this was a list of actions, my actions. What financial accounts needed to be closed, what personal assets needed to be protected, and what ultimately needed to end. The very next morning, I took the day off work. My first stop was the bank. I systematically separated the accounts I had so foolishly kept joint just for the sake of convenience. I froze the shared credit lines. I printed out every single statement from the last year, not to start a fight, but to be prepared for one. By noon, I was sitting in a lawyer's office. I didn't spin some long, emotional story. I just gave him the facts, the dates, the behavioral changes, the patterns. He just nodded, this calm, professional nod that told me he'd seen this exact scenario play out 100 times before. He asked, "Do you want to wait until she's back to proceed?" I looked him straight in the eye and said, "No, I want everything done before she even lands." That afternoon, I went back to the house and started packing my essentials. I wasn't angry. I was methodical, clinical, almost. I packed my documents, clothes, and a few personal items that actually meant something to me. I left behind all the things that belonged to a version of our life that I now realized no longer existed. The moment my bag was in the car, the house already felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted. 3 days into her trip, my phone buzzed. It was a message from her. "Can we not do this now? I'm trying to relax." Her words were cold, dismissive. As if my actions were an inconvenience to her vacation, I didn't reply. Another message came that night. "You're being cold." The irony was staggering. Still, I said nothing. See, silence has its own weight, its own power, especially when it's intentional. On the 5th day, my lawyer called. The papers were ready. Filed, legally sound, clean and efficient. On the 6th day, I moved the last of my things out of the house. I left the keys on the kitchen counter, no note, no dramatic final words. The empty space said everything that needed to be said. On the 7th day, she landed. I know the exact moment she walked back into that empty house because my phone absolutely exploded. Message after message, one on top of the other. "Where are you?" "What is going on?" "Why isn't anything working?" Referring to the credit cards, I assumed. Then the panic started to set in. "This isn't funny." "Answer me." And then, when she finally checked her email and saw the official notice from my lawyer, her entire tone shifted. The panic turned into indignation. "You blindsided me." That one word. It still amazes me. Blindsided, as if weeks of emotional distance, months of lies, and a suitcase packed for a secret getaway were all acts of total transparency. I only answered one of her messages. Just one. "You said we'd talk when you got back." I listened. 2 days later, she showed up at my new place, completely unannounced. Her eyes were red and puffy. That confident, almost arrogant air she had when she left was completely gone. "This wasn't supposed to happen like this," she said, her voice trembling. I just looked at her and replied calmly, "It never is." She started to cry. She said the trip wasn't what I thought it was. She claimed that nothing really happened. She said she just needed some space and didn't expect me to react with such consequences. And then, finally, the real truth came out. "I thought you'd wait for me," she admitted. And that was it? That was the core of it all? It wasn't about love? It wasn't about regret for her actions. It was about expectation. The expectation that I would remain a passive character in the story she was writing for herself. I waited long enough, I told her. She asked if we could start over. If we could finally have that talk now? I just shook my head. "Now you want a conversation because your control didn't work." I think that sentence hurt her more than any amount of screaming or anger ever could have. The divorce process itself was quiet. There was no screaming, no public drama. Our friends were confused because there was no big spectacle. It was just two lives separating cleanly, efficiently. Some of them asked why I didn't fight harder for the relationship. The truth is, I did fight. I fought for months. Just not at the end. At the end, I fought for myself. Months later, I heard through the grapevine that the trip hadn't exactly gone as she'd planned. Apparently, the person she traveled to see lost interest once the secrecy was gone and reality set in. That's what usually happens when lies run out of places to hide. She reached out to me one last time after that. Her message was softer, smaller. "I didn't know you were capable of this," she wrote. And I understood exactly what she meant. She wasn't surprised that I was hurt or angry.